Good day, everyone. My name is Dinislam. I'm a research engineer from Action Lab at Monash University. In this video, I'm going to talk about the research project we have conducted in the organizational development and workplace context. Firstly, I will go through the points I'm going to cover in the next slides, including the following. The identified gaps of collaborative decision-making and context-aware qualitative investigation at scale that led us to the further exploration around semi-automation, simplification of decision-making, and utilization of organizational and technological infrastructure. Then I'm going to reiterate the key design principles and talk more about the case study. The rich detail generated by qualitative research is essential for understanding workplace contexts and processes for organizational development. This can be a highly involved and extensive process, thus limiting the number of people who can normally fully participate in it. Organizational strategy and decision-making is often considered as a transactional process, especially when it comes to the strategy and organizational vision formulation and implementation, despite the fact that employees are quite often the one who faces issues firsthand and deal with the different coping strategies around it. Another challenge is the problematic simplification of collaboration and employee voice processes within the organization. Ideally, you would want to allow more employees and stakeholders to participate effectively without consuming a lot of time and effort. Another issue is the complexity of conducting qualitative research at scale. Presently, involving stakeholders in formulating the strategies is a considerable challenge. Lastly, there is an issue of speed versus insightfulness. The challenge is that qualitative methods require a significant amount of skill to apply effectively and can present a challenge even in the stage of preparation and planning, especially in regards to large-scale research that involves dozens of participants across a diverse cohort. Due to high level of distribution of the international NGO that we are conducting our study with, it became apparent that the only way to carry out a qualitative process at scale was to utilize existing organizational structure rather than creating another bespoke solution. Another aspect that helped simplification and made it safer for employees to share their thoughts and opinions was the fact that they participated in qualitative process as the conductors and interviewed the stakeholders. In addition to the idea of converting the interviews to the discussion-like conversations, where both participants, interviewer and interviewer, could have participated equally within, we introduce a concept of implicit employee voice as a byproduct of employees engaging in the conversation with the stakeholders during the interview process, thus sharing their own ideas, experiences, and concerns along the way. The common problem with introducing an employee voice process, especially a digitally mediated one, is the perceived notion that they are yet another thing to do, with no clear value proposition for the employees. This work demonstrated the feasibility of conducting collaborative design activities using a familiar digital infrastructure and asynchronous remote communication. Following these observations, one can assume that appropriation of existing technological infrastructure can simplify the task for employees, allowing digital technology scoping and facilitating the collaboration. As was previously conceptualized by Lampton Howard under the banner of unplatforming, in which existing platforms such as Microsoft Teams or Office 365 are considered as materials that can be utilized to design and implement digitally mediated processes that enable coordinated participation. To reduce the load on participants more and ensure the validity and reliability of results, we also streamlined the process through automating the conduct and analysis of the data. The initial design of our strategy process assumed a degree of flexibility in the implementation of certain stages of strategy consultation that already provided the ability to modify components independently without compromising the intended result. The methodology employed is mixed, empirical, and application-focused. It deploys qualitative methods in the form of content analysis, interviews, workshops, and quantitative data collection. The research study was organized iteratively with cycles of planning, acting, reflecting, involving the design of top-down, structured, and formal, employer-led, but employee-driven consultation process. This approach is best characterized as a combination of action research and an iterative approach with mainly associated with software development. This iterative process responded to the challenges identified before and adheres to the following principles: fully contained end-to-end coverage, flexibility, and technology-agnostic approach. Stakeholder voice prioritization. The OurStrategy process assumed the following roles for participants involved in the process: steering committee. These are the executive team members, country directors, or lead scientists who participate in the design and analysis stages. Process manager. This role is particularly vital as the person who facilitates the process going forward and support process through all the stages and interacting with different members involved in the process execution. Employees. In this scenario, employees of the organization acted as interviewers and interviewees, and they conducted all the qualitative research. And finally, stakeholders, the interviewees and different partners of the organization where we conducted the study. Each iteration consisted of following steps: design step, conduct step, tagging step, and analysis. An average of 7 main topics were identified from each interview. More than 400 main points identified by taggers went through the collaborative analysis phase, resulting in more than 1,200 topics later aggregated into 15 theme groups. Based on the identified themes and grouped topics, the committee members conducted a cross-country analysis to identify common themes. This analysis produced a report providing a summary of stakeholder perspective on future research prioritized for NGO across contexts, regions, and countries, and reflection on country-level planning. The report was obtained from country teams to validate the reports and to hear their reflection. Speaking of the main key learnings, this study was designed to address the challenges associated with a diverse cohort of interviewees and the burden imposed by undertaking large-scale studies. Our findings showed this can be overcome on the ground through the high level of work distribution and task simplification. The inherent flexibility in the implementation and personalization of individual stages within the OurStrategy process had the advantage of providing the ability to modify each component in real time without compromising the intended result. In turn, this eased both participation and governance. More specifically, it allowed us to overcome the barrier of engaging in qualitative study and employing interviews or workshops as a primary method. The iterative and participant-driven process fosters continuous improvement and adaptation, allowing organizations to effectively respond to changing needs and conditions while promoting employee engagement and ownership in decision-making. It helps simplify qualitative research by breaking it down into manageable tasks and offering flexible modes of participation, make it more inclusive and easy in participation and governance. It encourages empathetic and active engagement between participants, leveraging existing connections and distributing the risk of bias, ultimately allowing for in-depth qualitative research conducted and delivered by a community. This approach helps to reveal unconventional opinions, nuanced knowledge, and the insightfulness of employees' inputs during the interview and tagging. The iterative process offered by OurStrategy demonstrated a capacity to facilitate the exploration of context from the different angles of diverse stakeholders to help identify overlooked issues and take into account the knowledge and expertise of the researchers. Whilst OurStrategy was successful, there remain some limitations to the OurStrategy process that should be considered. Although OurStrategy's flexibility helps to address contextual factors, it can limit the quality of the data if the configuration of the process is not appropriate. Potential mistakes can include having short iteration cycles, including questions that are too close or narrow, or not accounting for stakeholders with limited availability. Whilst in this case we had experienced researchers involved who were able to prevent these types of mistakes, this might not be something that can be assured in other contexts of deployments.